What is up, guys? Got another sort of interesting video here, I guess. Kind of inspired by like the old Hulk manifestos, I guess. And really kind of, so as you can see, I have only a couple hours here left in my Town Hall upgrade, and kind of why I'm sitting here, I'm kind of thinking about the past and the future, and this video is entirely on the past and the present, right? So thinking back about my time at Town Hall 10, I went up right at ClashCon, and that had me sort of thinking about where the game has gone during that time, right? So just a brief, I'll give a little brief overview of how the meta has changed, I guess, and then I'll kind of go into how the current meta is looking, and then how it's going to be changing with the new announcement that they had today, which was that they're going to be cracking down on modders. Which, spoiler alert, I'm stoked about it. I'm pumped, but I'm also a little bit pessimistic. So yeah, I'll get into that later though. Give me a few minutes as I waste my time on rambling. So when I upgraded, it was October 26th or something like that. Right around ClashCon is when it finished, and there's a lot of sort of animosity in the community with regard to Supercell because they really had hyped this ClashCon to be an update release, right? Where are not necessarily a release, but you know, a lot of big information, and all it really was, hey, we're giving you a little more content. That's really all it felt like. It didn't feel like anybody was actually getting a new way to play the game, nothing like that. And in my opinion, that's huge. I feel like that they're still really missing that, and I might go into that later, but I don't know. Who knows how I'll ramble? But it wasn't taken well, right? And even then, they announced Town Hall 11, and it didn't come out until December 10th. So we were still in the dark for such a long time. When that update did drop, they of course, you know, the Warden, the Eagle, and they ended sniping, which was actually pretty big for the farming community as well. I don't want to say they ended botting, because they buffed goblins as well, and at that point they just changed the way they were botting. So I don't know. The other big thing that it really did, well, two big things I guess. One was they nerfed healers, but that wasn't a huge deal in War, more for Super Queen, where you would have like 8 healers on your queen. And the other one was the increase in 30 seconds. So you had an extra 30 seconds in War, both or at all Town Hall levels, which was massive at Town Hall 10, because you were able to do these really long queen walks and take out 2 air defenses, maybe an Inferno Tower, and get an absolute ton of value. Really cool stuff. I mean, there are a lot of cool raids being done, and you would see a lot of finesse being done with your queen walk, with your wall breakers, with spells, and I really enjoyed that, because it wasn't a spam attack. It wasn't getting all your troops down at once. It was very much finesse, and every single touch planned out to the second, right? I mean, you were thinking about, as soon as my queen targets this building, I'm going to drop 3 wall breakers. You know what I mean? You were really planning out, and I love that. Honestly, I really love my long queen walks on the beach, and almost always ending in La Lune. But you know, sometimes you would see split heroes and stuff as well, but typically La Lune was the main hit. There was also Fuxi Hogs and things like that, which was basically a go white back in Hogs, sort of. But you don't see that as much. Obviously, Queen Walk La Lune was definitely the biggest raid. In the TWC community, the top war clans, we saw a lot of the high-ranking mixed war scene move up to the elite wars, right, to full Town Hall 11s, which as a fair play guy was really interesting for me to watch that transition. And we also, in that time in the TWC, saw an increase in ghosting, right? So ghosting was, I mean, even back in like early September last year, it was known about and somewhat popular, but only probably this year have we really seen a huge increase. And I'll talk about it in a bit, but you know, big thing when the TWCs are changing, you can kind of tell where the game is going, right? It really wasn't all bad though. In the fair play community, we saw a huge rise in clans that are performing very well and having really cool stuff come out of it. And I know my own clan personally had a huge amount of growth as well. During this time, we had a merge between, you know, a couple different clans, and we've had a lot of success since then. So really, the growth of the fair play community has been encouraging to me, because that's where I like to spend my game, right? On January 26th, we got another update, and this one wasn't a huge update. It was mainly for farmers. You had the daily bonus, treasury, loot cart, And the other thing is you had the Eagle Artillery that did triple damage to golems, and that was actually pretty big for Town Hall 10 on Town Hall 11 2-star attempts, and made them a little bit harder anyway. But it definitely brought some variety to the game, but it's pretty annoying, to be perfectly honest. Another thing we saw early of this year, and maybe even into April, I don't know how long ago it was at this point, we saw a lot of hunts from modding clans on Fair Play clans with the Berg's Army and things like that. And to be honest, I'm sort of optimistic about this, or I don't know. I enjoyed it. I did. I know that the clans themselves obviously didn't enjoy it. Whoops. But I kind of enjoyed watching it, and you know what I mean? It gave a little bit of a drama to the community, even though you had people getting super frustrated. And so, I feel bad for them, but overall, I don't think it's a terrible thing to have the hunts. But that's just me. There are also a lot of Fair Play clans that came out of the closet during this time. Things like Reddit Raiders, rather. Was it War and Glory? Or We Are Raiders, sorry, not War and Glory. Sorry, guys. And Reddit Alchemy. And really, they've been met with relatively low success from what I've seen. I could be wrong. They might be seeing it now, and I haven't been following them. But kind of been interesting to see, I guess, because all the people who want to be modding and open modding want to be in the best clans, and so it's really hard to start a new clan that's modding. But I found that kind of interesting, that clans that did so well in the Fair Play community didn't do well when they decided to go full mod. I mean, that makes perfect sense. I don't know. I still thought it was interesting. We did also during this time, on like March 1st or something like that, have the Clash Royale update, which didn't change much about Clash of Clans, obviously, but we lost a lot of content creators. A lot of the big YouTubers, a lot of the big streamers are now on Clash Royale mainly, and that's a little bit unfortunate for the overall health of the game, even though it didn't really affect the war community at all. But hopefully there will be a balance struck as the game is changing now. But I don't know, we'll see. Also, on March 21st was the most recent update, and really this one was huge. It really was. We lost the 30 seconds, so really the big thing is we lost the queen walks, and I really miss those long queen walks with my queen. It was very soothing time for me. I just spending time with my girl. But oh well, we lost it, and we did gain a lot though. At Town Hall 11, they really hurt them on Town Hall 11 hits, I would say, with the witch nerf, or it was a huge witch nerf. I mean, the witches, the skellies lost HP. They no longer trip traps, which is massive, massive, massive. And the Grand Warden has lower range, which hurts witches and Laloon, right? But that's a huge nerf though to mass witches. There's also a nerf to poison, which wasn't huge to most people, but it kind of all it did was get rid of the lure and kill approach, where now you actually have to do it on the fly, which is how a lot of people were doing it anyway, so it's not a big problem there. But it was interesting to see though. Lost the 35-45 wars, so we could no longer match at those numbers. We had to go to 30 or 40. Or 50, I guess, but no one really ever runs at 50. And of course, the matchmaking takes into account streaks. And then, the biggest part of the update, easily the biggest part, new Valks. New Valks AI. They now attack super quick. They go in, get between buildings, and spin. Boom, building dead. Whereas before they'd get in, they'd kind of take their time, maybe drink a sip of tea, and then they would spin, and by that time they might be already dead. So really, it enabled them at Town Hall 10 to be able to get through the powerful cores and Inferno towers a little bit quicker, and have quite a good bit of usefulness at Town Hall 10, whether rage or heal or mass Valks. And the other thing being new level hogs gave rise to huge amounts of Govaho at Town Hall 10. Town Hall 10 and at Town Hall 11, that seems to be the biggest style of attack. I still like the mass Valks at Town Hall 10. But on a lot of bases, the Govaho is a lot more powerful. So, take it as you will. No more long walks though. So typically, you have to just basically use your queen to funnel your Valks around. That's typically how it's done now. And another thing that actually changed was, well, sort of, basically the end of one troop modding, or one troop scouting, I guess, on a mod attack. So typically on I don't think it happened as much TWC from what I saw, but in Bad Wars with bad modders, you would see people who would do like a one troop scout from like a Town Hall 3, and then they would have a Town Hall 10 who was able to get all the trap data and do a sandbox attack on it. And they removed that where only untriggered traps showed, but it did actually end up getting fixed anyway to where when if they were able to catch it live, then it would show it and a few other things. But you know, it did do a little bit to combat modding and kind of changed how the game was played to some degree. As I mentioned, a lot of rising ghosting. We've actually seen it in like the normal community where people are now being aware of ghosting and you know, things on like the Reddit forums and things like that where they, you know, everybody knows about it now and they're kind of getting on to Supercell. You're having people that are ghosting in Farm Wars now, and people are upset about that, obviously. And apparently Supercell is banning people because of that, and I'm sure we'll see more bans in the future if they haven't already patched it, but I have no idea. Really the epitome of the ghosting, not the epitome, but the apex, I guess, of the ghosting and kind of the dirty side, I guess. If you know, if you're willing to admit that the TWC isn't all dirty, but the apex of the TWC dirtiness was really the in the dark art of war where there were people on both sides that were reported and banned for modding. There were hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars of gems spent from the enemy teams. People were there's a thing where they can connect to their account and basically lock them out of it, so they couldn't do their war attacks. I mean, really, it was the dirtiest war I've ever seen by far, and kind of probably a good war to end this modding era, hopefully. But I don't know. That brings me into to where we are now, though, where Supercell just released an update today, ending modding, supposedly, and hopefully it does actually work out. Basically, all they're saying is they can now detect it and they will mod you, or they will ban you, right? So they will give permanent bans. I saw things on Twitter of people getting first offense of 180 days, which is quite a lot on first offense, which is good though. Hopefully it means people will be more scared of, you know, their games that they put in hundreds, if not thousands of dollars into, and, you know, be a little more wary, and hopefully we'll see a decrease. I don't know if we will. I don't know if we will at all. It depends on how much Supercell is bluffing, but hopefully it will. And how do I see this changing the community? Really, that's where I'm a little concerned. First off, fair play guy, fair play community, it's going to benefit us 100% for the better in our little bubble, right? But there is a large, huge portion of the game, whether it be the farming community, the pushing community, or the top war community, or even just casual war guys who don't want to be like in a fair play clan, they're just warring for fun, they're using mods. And they're using it because the game has become stale to them, and it's just a quality of life thing. It's just a different style of game. And first off, let me also say, people who are closet modding, especially calling themselves fair play, that's bad. They shouldn't do it. They should feel bad, and they really, there isn't much excuse for that, in my opinion, because that's, if you want to mod, go mod, and if you want to be in a fair play community, be in a fair play community. But that's, you know, to each his own. I won't be that upset by it because it's kind of expected. You just kind of got to do your best to keep it out. But losing the top war community is obviously losing the elite guys who are making the new strategies. Losing the pushing guys are losing a lot of guys in the spotlight, which is bad. And of course, if we're losing the people who are just farming, who are using it to auto next for them, it could potentially be a bad thing, right? Because they're going to get bored of the game and not want to farm anymore, and we're going to have a massive drop off in population, I think, unless they give us new features. And I think they should look to the game to add new features, or not the game, but the mods to add new features that people like to keep them interested, instead of just taking away something that has essentially been a feature for the last 2 years, if not longer. I don't even know how long it's been around. Because if you really think about it, when they're doing balancing in the game on the economy, which is something that's very important to them, and on pushing and things like that, they've always taken into account the fact that people are modding. Whether they're doing it on purpose or not, they're taken into account because it's part of the game. So that's why I think that there will need to be some sort of change to either fix the feature or remove the feature. You know what I mean? And I say it's a feature. I know it's not, because not everybody has access to it. But frankly, if you let something be a part of the game, it's easily accessible, and there's no punishment for it, then frankly it's a part of the game. That's all there is to it. It's a feature, and you know, I didn't. I kind of, I don't want to say I regret not doing it, knowing that there isn't going to be any punishment, but to some degree I wish I had kind of been able to experience that. But of course, with the whole mantra of not being accepted back to fair play clans, I'm glad I didn't. You know, whatever. But you know, it is something. It is a big loss, and I think if they just take stuff from people without giving it to them, then we're gonna have a big problem in the community. That does bring me to my idea for arranged matchups. Actually, I'll make a whole video for that. So I'll just give a brief summation. Basically, what I want it to be is you go into a matchmaking type setting, like a Call of Duty or something like that, where you pick your style of gameplay. You go in with a party of people, and you have a certain number of bases to clear. That's set. And I don't know. I can go into details later, but that's my idea. Is just to have it sort of like a matchmaking, a quick little short war where you can go in as an individual, or you can go in with a party system, and it would your opponent would be weighted accordingly, just like in Halo or Call of Duty or something like that, right? That'd be really cool to see. One thing though is I really hope this is coming soon, because if you're just taking away stuff from people, you're gonna lose a lot of people, and you got to get them back in early. Hopefully it will come, but I definitely see the meta staying the same for a while. I don't think they'll nerf Valks until the whole modding thing is settled, and I think Valks and Govaho are just going to be really popular. But I do think that we're still going to have, you know, relative success, even fair play, not being able to see new attacks even with base changes because of how powerful Valks are. And hopefully, I mean, I've already sort of mentioned it, but I'm just crossing my fingers that what they're doing is leveling the playing field in order to add features to the game for competition, to kind of give us what we really have been wanting the whole time, because I really do think it's going to get stale if this is all they're doing, because we're going to have, you know, a lot of different aspects of the game that are leaving. That's all there really is to it. But I don't know. You might have noticed also up in the top I was able to do some little YouTube magic, and the town hall is almost done. So it's currently finishing now. Pretty exciting. But while it finishes, just yeah, thank you for watching the video, kind of listening to what I have to say. Hopefully Supercell is going to do something similar or listen to it. I really think this should be what we push for next, because people can be sort of short-sighted in our community as well as them, obviously. But I don't know. I have my fingers crossed. I am slightly pessimistic, but we'll see how it turns out. But anyway, thanks guys. Thanks for watching the video. And as you see, we have 3, 2, 1. There we are. Town Hall 11. Good luck, me. Peace.